Alright, so the Monaco GP is over, and it was a busy Grand Prix, I'll say that. It was a busy Grand Prix. And there are some pretty vital takeaways from it, but number one, the delayed start. I don't know if the stewards know, or perhaps they don't know, right? That such low standards for stewards nowadays. But the F1 cars would clear water from the circuit a lot faster than, well, anything else could clear water from the circuit. So, delay the start 5 minutes, sure. Let the teams change their tires and all of that. Sure, do that. If they want to start on inters, they start on inters. Everyone can do the thing. But you have to get the race going quick before the rain falls. I mean, look, they ran the race in 97, quite frankly, in worse conditions. What happened here would be the equivalent of, oh look, it's starting to rain on the grid in 97. Let's delay the start by 5 minutes, then 15 minutes, and let's put them behind safety car after it's already, after the skies have already opened up. Oh, the track ain't drying up fast enough. Oh, we gotta pull them into the pit lane now. No, you just send the cars out. Let them race. Let them raid the tires. These wet tires. Anytime they put on these extreme wets, they might as well just retire that tire, because anytime they have to put it on, they just stop the race. What's the point of having the extreme wet? The only time you let them use the extreme wet is when the track is in intermediate conditions. You see, this is the thing. This is the thing that just drives me insane about how they direct wet race starts. Like, I just don't understand. Start of the broadcast, I have to use like broadcast language because the race went on forever. Start of the broadcast, when it first started raining, 5 minutes, change your tires if you want to, and we're going racing. And no, it's not going to be a safety car start, it's going to be a standing start. That's what it's going to be. It's not going to be a rolling start behind the safety car, not at all. And you shouldn't even be doing formation laps behind safety car, but anyway. I don't know which bell end in the FIA came up with that that rule, but it's so fucking stupid. Because I was watching this on TV. Everyone would have been watching it on TV, right? Unless you're just lucky enough to literally be there in Monaco. But you're watching this on TV. The first delay happens, you say, okay, cool, that's intermediate conditions. Start the race. Because the longer you wait to start the race and the more rain falls on the circuit, guess what? Now you're going to get into this mode that the stewards have of, oh, the circuit's too wet, we can't thin the cars out. No, you let the circuit get wet. If you want to dry the circuit while it's raining, so that there's actually a groove or line for drivers to drive through, send the cars out, let them race. Let them race. The tires, these wet tires, they can clear, 100 liters of water per second? Per second! And you're gonna tell me, in all your infinite wisdom there in the steward's room, that these guys can't drive. These are the best drivers in, well, maybe not Latifi, and maybe not Stroll, but anyway, these are the best drivers in the world, or so we are led to believe. If you're gonna tell me that they can't race around the streets of Monaco in the rain like they did in, what year was this, 2008, like they did in 97, like they did in 2016, if you're gonna tell me that they can't race in the rain, then just forget about running races in the rain. Brundle had the right take on the delayed start, top to bottom. He had another foolish take later in the race, but his take on the delayed start was absolutely correct. Oh, it's too dangerous to send the cars. It's a dangerous business. It's a dangerous business. These are the best drivers in the world. You're telling me they can't handle some rain? If that's really what you're saying, there in that steward's room, then change the drivers. Change all of them. They're clearly not good enough for F1 if they can't drive in the rain. Clearly. And it's been too long of, fans sitting around watching the sport get bastardized for safety standards. Like, it's a wet race in Monaco. What's the worst that's gonna happen? Honestly, what's the worst that's gonna happen? Someone, drives into a barrier at half the speed they would drive into it in the track. Come on. Come on, man. And everyone could have told you this in real time. From their televisions. Had they started the race on time, even with a 5-minute delay or a 10-minute delay, let's make it a 10-minute delay. Had they started the race on time after this 10-minute delay, and just, forget about the safety car formation lap and all of that, forget about that. Just send them, standing start, what have you. Guess what would have happened? There would be no red flags. Oh, but it rained harder. No, that wouldn't matter. You go put on the extreme wets, everyone loses 10 seconds from their lap time. Everyone's driving slow and you just poodle around like that. We've done wet races at Monaco before. In worse conditions. Go watch that 97 and the 96 Grand Prix. Actually, go watch the 96 Monaco Grand Prix. Go watch that one. Seriously, go watch that one and tell me, why these modern cars, of course those cars were modern back then, but tell me why these modern cars, which have more grip than any of these cars that have come before, well, barring the cars that we had 4 years ago and last year, but barring that, they've got more grip than any of these prior cars that have raced in the wet in Monaco. And the stewards are going to tell me in their infinite wisdom that you can't just send these cars out to race? They'll dry the circuit while it's raining. While it's raining, they'll dry the damn circuit. I promise you that. But oh no, we got to delay fucking a whole hour. Yeah, that was a whole hour, all in all, of a fucking delay. For what? For what now? Now the teams are, trying to find a way to pit for inters. Right off the jump. Gasly did that. It's unbelievable. Really netted gold for Gasly doing that, but it's unbelievable. By the time you start the race, after after some inclement weather, by the time these guys start the race, it's intermediate conditions. Don't bring the extreme weight anymore. Forget about it. Forget about it. Keep the inter. When someone starts aquaplaning on the intermediate, then you stop the race. Then cool, we'll stop the race, and we'll all accept it on the TV because there's no extreme wet tires. So what are they gonna drive on? It's only the intermediates. And I swear, I thought this was solved. Quite frankly, I thought this was solved. Which German Grand Prix was that? 2018 or 19? Somewhere there. I thought this was solved. Oh, you too scared to let these cars go? These world-class drivers, drive on a wet Monaco? Seriously. So then I'm just led to believe that the entire 1996 grid of drivers, the entire 1997 grid of drivers is just outright better than today's drivers because the stewards don't trust them to race in the rain. With safer cars, safer circuit, better tires. But oh no, it's too much. Oh, they can't race in that rain. Now what are you going to tell me? Oh, there were puddles coming across the track. There's puddles at every circuit when it rains. Honestly, there's puddles, there's rivers at every circuit. There was a Brazil Grand Prix. Yeah, that 02, 01 Brazil Grand Prix, 2002 or 2000, somewhere there. And that race was under safety car for a long time. From the word go, like, what was it, 12 laps or 14 laps under safety car? It was absurd. But hey, when the race started, When they let those cars go, guess what? The track was still sopping wet. Rooster tails going, rooster tails reaching skyscrapers. Rivers coming across the track. What was in the center S's? Turn 3. That was like a huge storyline of that Grand Prix. That turn 3, the rivers just running across there, catching out everyone. Michael Schumacher, Juan Pablo Montoya, and Mark Webber. Everyone's getting caught out by this river that's, just trundling it's just trundling through the circuit. Everyone's getting caught out by it. Keep racing. Keep racing. If there's too many cars going off there in shorts of section, then you throw a safety car. This is how Charlie ran a wet race. And you're gonna tell me that today's stewards can't run a wet race the way Charlie did it? Charlie left you all the cheat sheet. He left you all the cheat sheet. You can go study the film of all those wet races. Go study it. And what are people gonna say? Oh, the last wet race that he oversaw, driver. Oh, blah, 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 blah. One, that's really a freak accident. Two, the weather wasn't exactly blamed for that. But anyway. Alright, now we start this off proper. I had to get that off my chest. Perez has won the Grand Prix. And let me tell you, it's quite a good win by him. Very good win. I mean, we'll address later in the video how Ferrari threw away a victory and all of that. We'll address that. But that's a very good win for Perez. Does this, I don't know, demonstrate to Red Bull that he can actually fight for a championship? I doubt. I truly doubt that. Why do I doubt that? Because this win has only come about on a weekend where Verstappen is off form for whatever reason. Didn't get the setup right, or maybe his vibes just weren't right this weekend. What have you? Anything. Maybe home is stressful, but this. I shouldn't touch that one. But maybe home is stressful with the situation over there. He's got a kid that's not his. So anything could have been happening with Verstappen. But at the end of the day, he's done the best damage limitation job that he could possibly do. And Perez, as the number 2 driver, he's gone and fished out a victory. And Red Bull will be pleased with that. Especially after the Spanish Grand Prix, where where people could argue that they took a win away from Perez. Especially after that. Now he's got to win at Monaco. The Spanish Grand Prix, whatever happened there, it doesn't matter anymore. That's fallen away completely. But who knows? Maybe they still fix a win for him in Mexico somehow. Who knows? But yeah, this is a very good drive by Perez. Key moment for him was pitting for the dries, pitting for slicks. That was the key moment for him. And that's where Ferrari lost the Grand Prix wholesale. Yeah, Sainz has come second, and Sainz basically just retained his position and did one less pit stop. But Perez demonstrated that, you could win the race. Swapping tires X amount of times. You swap to the inter and you swap to the dry. Yeah, he demonstrated that, you could win the race doing that if you did it right. Leclerc maybe would have won the race had he done what Sainz did, but we'll get to that. Right now, I just want to appreciate that this is a really solid result for Sergio Perez. On the cooldown lap after the checkered flag, he was on the radio saying how much he loves being at this team and all of that. I'd like to know if he was saying that in the week leading up to Monaco. I'd love to know. After Spain, I love being in this team. even though they might have just stolen a win from me. I love being in this team, but after this Monaco result, he definitely loves being at Red Bull, because he probably wouldn't have gotten the results at any other team. But a really great result for Perez. I'm really curious to see how he's going to run in Baku in Canada. I'm not expecting championship challenging fireworks from him. But I do like this. He has delivered on his spice from earlier in the season. And that can only be good for him. Is it good for Red Bull? Who knows? We'll see. Alright, now before I forget, this has to be addressed. Now, allegedly, both Perez and Verstappen crossed the pit exit line before hitting the third safety car line. What's the third safety car line? It's that line that... Okay, firstly, what's the pit exit line? In that orange line that drivers have to stay right off. In Monaco, I guess in different circuits, they might have to stay left of it or what have you, pending the geography of the circuit. But in Monaco, they have to stay right of it before they hit the third safety car line. Third safety car line that marks the pit exit. You know, the real pit exit. Now you can actually merge into the circuit. In IndyCar, they would just call it a merging lane, I suppose. But anyway, why am I talking about this? Because allegedly, well, Verstappen definitely crossed it. That's on film. I have that on film. But allegedly, both the Red Bulls crossed that pit exit line, that feed-in line, and there were no penalties for it. So, you know, at some point, we are gonna have to question, you know, are we actually running a championship here, or are we just doing a elongated Max Verstappen parade? We're really gonna have to ask that, because if any other driver did what Verstappen did, and you know, some people might say, oh, it was so marginal, da da da. I've seen that given. I've seen that given in other years at Monaco. Okay? So here's the thing: if they're gonna allow, you know, these marginal rule breaks and what have you, and commentary were putting up this narrative of what was happening on the ground for them, and that, you know, the power was going out and stuff. They were watching the replay, and then boom, power went out, and they're like, oh, we can't see the replay now. Did that affect the steward's room too? Look. Even if it did affect the steward's room, they can just rewind the video. Anyway, that was just before the red flag that these Red Bull cars crossed crossed the pit exit line. Alright, just before the safety car. And there were no penalties. I mean, they noted Perez, the stewards, they noted Perez crossing that pit exit line, but they didn't show that on film. And then they did not note Verstappen crossing that line. Now, at the time of recording this, Ferrari, they are putting in, now this will be all in past tense, they were putting in an inquiry as to what exactly happened there, because if it was obvious to me at home that Verstappen crossed this pit exit line before he was supposed to, if it's obvious to me at home, then it's got to be obvious to people who are there on the ground, right? It's got to be obvious to Ferrari that this happened. It's got to be obvious to Red Bull. It's got to be obvious to the stewards. So Ferrari, they made an inquiry to the stewards, and the stewards, I don't know, they probably rejected, things considered. Hold on. Yeah, they rejected it. So they rejected the inquiry, even though rules were genuinely broken. And it's going to get to a point where we're really going to have to question what exactly they're doing with this championship. It really is going to have to get to that point soon. Because if anyone else did what Max Verstappen did there with the pit exit line, it would be penalized. I don't know what the penalty is, whether it's a drive-through penalty or what have you, but they would have been penalized. we got it on film, right? We got the incident on film. We can see the tire cross the line from the onboard, and I'm sure the rear tire crossed the line even sooner. But anyway, I thought that would just be interesting to note that that did happen and that nothing was done about it, The stewards just turned a blind eye. Oh, don't look that way. Don't look that way. Whatever's happening over there, pretend it's not happening. But anyway. Next observation. Ferrari have duped Leclerc, or perhaps Leclerc has duped himself. Either way you fall in that, he just hasn't gotten the result at the end of the day. Now, there's perhaps a good tiding for him that he has finished the Grand Prix and broken that, it hasn't finished Monaco duck. Which even includes junior formula, which is really absurd to me. But it is good tidings that he's broken that duck. I don't think he wins the championship from here, though. I really don't. I think Verstappen is, unless Leclerc, maybe him driving in anger after this Monaco fiasco might be good for him. Who knows? It might be good for him. But Ferrari have duped him, and he has indeed duped himself. Now, I made commentary after the Miami Grand Prix about Sir Lewis Hamilton fluffing his own strategy from the cockpit. It's exactly what Leclerc has done here. He's fluffed his own strategy from the cockpit. Contrast that with his teammate Sainz and me and some F1 bigwigs, some key commentators and the like. We all considered Leclerc, more talented than Sainz. How much more talented? Anyone's guess. But he's definitely more talented than Sainz. But Sainz from the cockpit, he made the call that he was going to run the wets until it was ready for dry tires. He made that call from the cockpit. He even rejected a call from the pit wall to pit. He rejected it outright. He said, no, this is not ready for slicks. They wanted to put him on inters. You see? So, in all of these pit stop kerfuffles and what have you have to give the driver the agency that they have in the situation. You really do. And Leclerc, he's not used his agency. He's gone into this Grand Prix thinking, zero agency, just let the team handle the strategy because they can see the whole picture. Although they can't actually see. Well, they can see the track conditions, but they can't feel the track conditions. Only the driver can feel the track conditions. So when your Albons and who else pitted for slicks? Your Ricciardos and all of that. When they've pitted for slicks early, Vettel as well, he pitted for slicks. When they've pitted for slicks early and suddenly they're lighting up the timesheets, then the pit wall calls Sainz and says, hey, it's time for your call to play out now. Leclerc, he didn't set that option up for himself. He didn't set it up for himself at all. Instead, he let the pit wall command him and the number 2 driver in the team, although Ferrari themselves don't say that. But Sainz, he commanded the pit wall. How's that? How did that happen? And why the pit wall after Sainz has commanded them in such a way hasn't then forwarded the same strategy to Leclerc, I just don't know. That's really sloppy from Ferrari. Incredibly sloppy. You probably don't win the championship just off the back of that because you're so inept on the pit wall. You can have all the cards. You can see all the cards, there's no hidden cards. You're playing poker and you've got special eyes and you can see what the river's gonna be and all of that. And Ferrari, they just don't even use that knowledge. Sainz is using that knowledge from the cockpit. I don't know if he watched the 2016 Grand Prix or something, where Sir Lewis Hamilton, he ran the wet tires till they were slicks. I don't know if he did that. Sainz, this is, I don't know if Sainz watched this Grand Prix and, you know, he had it fresh in his memory or something. But sure, Sainz, he can think of that. Any driver could think of that. But then for the Ferrari pit wall to not forward, to not even suggest it to Leclerc out. And then when they did call him in, well, they called him in twice, once for inters, and he only spent, what, 4 laps on the inters? You know, you would really hope that the pit wall would be smarter than that. But then after those 4 laps, they call him in for slicks. Oh, you should have just left him out. And they accidentally called him in because Sainz was being serviced at the same time. And Leclerc, well, all his composure was gone after that. So all of Leclerc's composure was gone after that. But I hope he recognizes that he had every opportunity, just like Sainz, to command the pit wall himself. And this has happened a few times at Monaco, where the driver commands the pit wall. So Lewis in that 2016 Grand Prix said, I'm running this till it's ready for slicks. Michael Schumacher in some other Grand Prix, I believe 2001 Monaco Grand Prix, might have been 2002 or 2000, but anyway, somewhere there. Maybe even 2003, somewhere. Eddie Irvine was still his teammate, maybe 99. Anyway, somewhere there. Right, I recall quite clearly there was a Monaco Grand Prix where Eddie Irvine, he delayed pitting for 3 or 4 laps. The team were calling him in, and he just kept lapping around. So the driver always has agency in deciding when or when not to pit. Always, especially now with the cars running race fuel from the start of the Grand Prix and no refueling being allowed. Especially now, back in the day, maybe you would have been fuel gated. Oh look, we're running out of fuel. You have to pit this lap. That would be a completely different thing. That would be a completely different situation for Leclerc to have to deal with. But here, really, the only thing you have to worry about is, am I on the right tires at the right time? Or how do I work my strategy in a way so that I can be on the right tires at the right time? But that seems to have turned out to be too much work for Leclerc. But not too much work for Sainz. Anyway. Gasly pit for inters soon as the safety car came in, well, for the real start of the Grand Prix. He pit for inters, and it turned out to be, I don't know, perhaps the most vital decision of the Grand Prix. Because as soon as he was lapping faster than everyone on the inters, everyone switched to inters. So Gasly, in a way, he's kind of run this Grand Prix from the back of the field. Of course, he came through. He fought his way through. A very great fight back, I might add. A really superb fight back from him. But him pitting for those inters as soon as the race actually got underway, yeah, that turned out to be the real key decision of the Grand Prix, because that dictated everyone else's decisions going forward. Alright, and teams didn't have to pit for the inter as demonstrated by Carlos Sainz. No one actually had to pit for the inter. But because, here's Gasly, he's beating the leader's time. Alright? He was matching it for a while, but then he starts beating the leader's time, and it's, okay, now we all need inters. Well, if you wanted inters, because the stewards, they delayed the start of the Grand Prix for so long, if you wanted inters, you should have just taken them right away. Well, of course, I understand people at the front of the grid, they can't do that because it'll get shuffled back down the pack. And there's no guarantee he'll actually be able to overtake anyone. I get it. But seriously, after that point, you should recognize, yeah, it's probably too late for putting on the inters. Right, Red Bull, quite frankly, fluffed their strategy by, oh, we're gonna go inters now for 4 laps, and then and then we'll catch the crossover point to slicks in 4 laps time. You know, they fluffed their strategy doing that. Anyway, after the start of the Grand Prix officially, if you're not taking inters, then it's probably too late. It's probably too late, and you're just gonna have to test the efficacy of those extreme weight tires. How long can they go? And quite frankly, after the Turkish Grand Prix, the previous 2 years, it shouldn't even be like an issue. It really shouldn't be an issue. Now, sure, I get it. It's new regulations. Cars are different. You can't just bank on, you know, race film from before and the tires just doing the same thing that they did in those cars. Sure, I get it. But why could Sainz bank on that? You see? And there were a few other drivers through through the field who did the same thing as Sainz. But I know everyone had to cave to Gasly's pace on the intermediates. Everyone had to cave to it. And then everyone had to cave to, oh my god, Albon setting fastest lap on the slicks. Everyone had to cave to that. The slicks made sense. The inters not so much, because you can wear down your extreme wets a bit, you know. Get them to that wetter immediate type of phase. You know, bold out the tire a bit just by running laps, and yeah, you would have the crossover. You'd make the crossover for the tries. But no one did that. Gasly played a blinder. Gasly and AlphaTauri. I don't know which of the two made that decision. I'm pretty sure it was Gasly though. He would have surely been on the radio saying, this is quite frankly intermediate conditions right now. These wets are just these wets are just a band-aid from the FIA because they're too scared to run a wet race. But yeah, those are just a band-aid. The real tires to be on at the start of a Grand Prix coming off these safety car starts is the intermediate, because that's the only conditions that they'll let the cars actually race in. Gasly, I don't know if he's just been paying attention to how the stewards run these wet races or what have you. Who knows? Maybe he is just paying attention, or maybe it was just the fact that he can see it from the cockpit that, yeah, this is not full wet conditions. This is intermediate. But anyway. Alright, next observation. Alpine, they fished out a good result for themselves. Woo! I want to say I was right, but I mean, it seemed kind of obvious to me that they were going to do so. Anyway, Alpine fished out a decent result for themselves. Could have been better if Alonso wasn't... I really do wonder why Alonso... I really do wonder why Alonso was so adamant about sabotaging Sir Lewis Hamilton's Grand Prix. But anyway, it just seems so strange to me. Some people will say, oh, he just hates him or whatever. I'm not too sure about that, quite frankly. He's got some sort of trauma around Sir Lewis Hamilton, this Alonso guy. I get it. That 2007 season was a bit of a muzzer. I get it. But it does seem Alonso has some trauma around Sir Lewis Hamilton. 100%. Otherwise, it makes no sense to me why he would sabotage Ocon's Grand Prix the way he did, by driving 3 seconds a lap off the pace when he was clearly capable of better lap times. Anyway, Alpine, they fished out a good result for themselves. Could have been better. It really could have been better. I don't know at what time they first told Alonso that Ocon has a penalty as well. He's got a 5-second penalty. I don't know at what time they said that. It might just be that when we heard it on TV, that might have been the first time they told him. Maybe like half a lap sooner or a lap sooner. But that was very bizarre to me. Very bizarre. Was it even advantageous to back up the whole pack like that? No, it's never. I just don't see any situation where that would be advantageous. But Alonso, he did that. From my perspective, he's cost his team a better result, but he's gotten a good result anyway to smooth over that talk, that conversation, that debrief that's probably happening right now. There's so many debriefs I'd love to be a part of coming off of this Grand Prix. Honestly, so many. But yeah, this would probably be a very interesting debrief back in the Alpine garage, or back at Alpine headquarters, wherever they do their debriefs. This would certainly be a most fascinating debrief to be a part of. I'd like to know what Ocon would have to say. Why were you lapping so slow, Fernando? Yeah, we all want to know that. We really do all want to know that. But anyway, I'm attributing it to Sir Lewis Hamilton trauma at this point. I don't really see a reason to not do so. Would he have done that if it was any other driver behind him? I don't think so. Some people will call it hatred. I think that's a very easy cop-out, but anyway. Looks like trauma to me. Anyway. Alright, it's time for another Battle of the Fates update at McLaren. I did not expect Ricciardo to perform this poorly. Genuinely, I did not. I don't know if there's Ricciardo fans around or anything. They keep saying that, you got to take it easy with him or whatever. Stop being so critical of him or what have you. Look, I need Ricciardo fans to understand something. This guy could have been challenging for championships. Okay, this Daniel Ricciardo guy, he could have been challenging for championships if he stayed at Red Bull. Would he have won a championship? I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think so. I don't believe that he would ever be capable of winning a championship, but he could definitely challenge for a championship, like Felipe Massa did, challenge for a championship. So when I critique Daniel Ricciardo's lackluster performances, I'm doing it with that in mind, that this is a championship challenging level of driver. At least if you unlock his form. Now, I really thought Monaco would be a good weekend for him to revive his season a bit. Provide a panacea to his season. And look what happened. Completely underwhelming. His teammate, by contrast, is trying to race the Mercedes. Can you believe that? He's trying to race with the Mercedes. At the sharp end of the grid, Ricciardo can't even crack the top 10. So this has just been a poor weekend all around for Ricciardo. All around. I need to see him rebound soon. I really need to see him rebound soon. Or else I can't, I need to see him rebound soon, or else I can't see him making the grid next season. I really can't. I mean, there's some talented youngsters all around the place right now. And yeah, Ricciardo should probably be a little more wary that they are waiting in the wings to take his seats. I mean, I just watched the Indy 500. I mean, they could even, McLaren they could even call up Pato O'Ward for this situation. They really could do that. I don't think they will, but they could do that. So there's at least, what, 4 other drivers that could be put in Ricciardo's seat, and they're all contracted to McLaren already. They're all contracted to McLaren already. So I don't know if Ricciardo, he just doesn't see what's around the corner. If this level of output that he's producing right now is maintained, I'm not sure if he just doesn't see what's around the corner, but someone needs to tell him what's around the corner. Someone. It won't be me. I'm not close enough to him. So someone go get the message to Ricciardo that, you're going to be forced out of the sport before you actually want to retire. Go get that message to him. Because comparatively with his teammate, what he's delivered today, it's inexcusable. It's inexcusable what he's done today in Monaco. I would argue over the whole weekend, but whatever. You can have a crash at Monaco. I would assume that's a part of every team's budget. You would expect a driver to crash at Monaco, do something and damage the car in some way around Monaco. So I don't really care that Ricciardo crashed at some point through the weekend. I really don't care. Sure, would that put him out of sync with the weekend, dent his confidence around the circuit a bit? Yeah, it could do all of those. It could do all that and then some. But at the end of the day, you've been driving for so many years at this point. You've won the Monaco Grand Prix. And you've had another win stolen from you by just the team being stupid. By the team doing a stupidness. It happens. Leclerc, he's learned that today. It happens. But what Ricciardo has produced in this race, it's poor. It's really poor. That's the most underwhelming Daniel Ricciardo drive I've ever seen. Ever. I've never seen him just deliver such a poor drive on a Sunday. Especially when compared with Norris. Now, if someone can provide a good reason as to why I shouldn't compare Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris, I'm all ears. I'm all ears. I'd love to hear that reason because, everyone's comparing George Russell and Sir Lewis Hamilton. Everyone's comparing Perez and Verstappen, Leclerc and Sainz, Magnussen and Mick Schumacher, Tsunoda and Gasly. All these teammates are being compared. So if I'm not allowed to compare Daniel Ricciardo to his own teammate, then what standard am I actually supposed to judge him by? You see, in my head, how this weekend was going to play out for Ricciardo is that he would be where Norris was. How foolish that was, right? What a foolish assumption that was. What a foolish hope that was. But that's really what I thought he would be doing. I thought Norris would be 2 cars behind him or something. And Ricciardo, he would draw first blood. His first blood. In this battle of the fates. And he just hasn't. And he really just hasn't. So if there's any Daniel Ricciardo fans out there, really get word to your boy. Get word to your guy that he's got to pull the finger out now. Really, he's got to pull the finger out. You know what's wild? Is that there's people who don't even rate Norris, right? They don't even rate Lando Norris, but they do rate Daniel Ricciardo. So in that context, if Norris is, he's not even one of the top drivers of the incoming generation, right? In that context, what are we exactly supposed to make of Daniel Ricciardo? It would be like him getting beaten by Tsunoda. I don't want to throw shade at Tsunoda, but that's what it would be like. If Norris was meant to not have as much talent as a lot of folks believe, if he's supposed to just be an also-ran, then comparatively, whatever Ricciardo is doing right now, he could get sacked after this Grand Prix if that were true. You see? He could get sacked. People are going to say, oh, these F1 contracts are ironclad or whatever. McLaren will pay him out for the season. He's not driving though. They'll find someone else to drive. So me, as someone who has very high standards for Ricciardo, having seen him driving at his top level, you know, having seen him drive in purple patch form, all of that, he's got to be better than this. He simply has to be better. There's no excuse that can be put out now. Really, there isn't. So at some point, these excuses are gonna. For me, the excuses for Ricciardo have already run out. This was at Monaco. He's got his Ricciardo flavored nightlife over there. I thought for sure, this is where he's gonna pull something out the bag. If there's any Grand Prix to do it, it was Monaco. Especially with the draining. Like, come on now. Especially with the wet Grand Prix that we had. You've got to do something. You've got to do something. Otherwise, I don't know. Has the grid just passed him by? Is he now one of the least talented drivers on the grid? You know, relative to everyone else that's around him? Is that what's happening? Because I would have a very hard time believing that. But anyway, Ricciardo, he's getting comboed by. He's locked in an endless combo coming from Norris. Endless. It's a 99 hit combo that's gonna rack up by the end of the season. Who knows? I quite frankly hope not. You know, I still want to see Daniel Ricciardo in some potential race-winning machinery somewhere along the line. Because his career has not panned out at all relative to how much talent he came into the sport with. His career hasn't panned out at all. And now there's this Norris kid, you know, upsetting his feng shui. You're gonna have to beat him, Danny. You're gonna have to beat him. And if you can't beat him, at least get close. You know, because what you've done here in Monaco is untenable. It is untenable. I don't know how friendly he is with all the VVIPs and McLaren. I don't know how friendly he is with Zach Brown, how frank he is with him. I don't know none of that. But my guy, I hope you're very friendly with Zach Brown. I really do. Because he will keep you in that seat if he likes you. He will absolutely keep you in that seat. And you know, if we get to, I don't know, if we get to Paul Ricard and Ricciardo is still looking like he's out at sea, like he's lost at sea, and I don't think McLaren will even keep him for the whole season. Anyway, I'm expecting a strong result from Ricciardo now in Baku. And if not Baku, then Canada. You know, at some point in the season, he's going to have to beat Norris. That's just the bottom line. At some point. Even Perez has beaten Verstappen here in Monaco. You see? Anyway. Mercedes have been average around Monaco. This is the next observation. Mercedes have been terribly average around Monaco. Terribly average. Quite frankly, if they had a different driver pairing, I don't even think they would be finishing in the top 10. Just being frank about it. If they had a different driver pairing, I don't think that car would finish in the top 10. At least around Monaco. Now, we still got to see how their upgrades play out. Going to different circuits, going to Baku, going to Montreal, and then heading to Silverstone, where there'll probably be more upgrades. But we do have to see how their upgrades play out. I am struggling to believe that their issues are solved. Alright? in terms of the porpoising. I am struggling to believe they had a different problem here at Monaco, bouncing because of the low tire profiles, and you're basically asking the wheel rim to be a suspension at this point. But anyway, we will just really have to see what their upgrades do in Baku in Canada. Not that they're bringing new upgrades there, although who knows, they might bring new upgrades for those. But I'm talking about their Spain upgrades. We still have to see how those actually metastasize as the season goes on. And, it would be one thing if Russell was at least able to hang on to the Ferrari and Red Bull duos. It would be one thing if he was able to hang on. Maybe you're 4 seconds behind or something. That would be one thing. But it's another thing when they drive away into the distance and they're only catching up on the back of Perez, holding everyone up with his worn out tires. It's a completely different thing. So Mercedes, they'll know well enough that they've got some issues to iron with the car. They'll know that well enough. There are some interesting points being made about Mercedes right now in the media. I'll probably make a video on that, a solo video. But this Monaco results, it wasn't the whole weekend, quite frankly, for Mercedes. It wasn't too promising in regards to their upgrades. Now, I came into this weekend wanting to see their package, which the nerds have diagnosed as having the highest downforce on the grid. I wanted to see what their package specifically did at Monaco. And it doesn't seem to have produced the goods. Now, Baku, the only thing I'm looking for in Baku is if they're porpoising on that main straight. That's all I'm looking to see in Baku in regards to Mercedes. That's really all I'm looking to see. There's nothing else that's of import that they could show me in Baku, aside from, I don't know, a race win. Otherwise, there's nothing else of import they could show me in Baku to convince me about, their potential outcomes this season. There's nothing else they could show me. Just, will the car porpoise or not? If it doesn't porpoise, okay, you might have a package that you can, start playing around with. Start throwing some performance upgrades on. Start throwing some fruity wings on there. Maybe a winglet here and there. Who knows? But until this car actually proves itself to me, I'm not really putting much stock into, these finishing positions. Are they finishing, 5th and 8th? I'm sure in someone's analysis, this is a good result for Mercedes. In someone's analysis, it's an average result for me. Average, terribly average. But anyway, Mercedes did have some genuine pace in intermediate conditions that they did. We can probably attribute that solely to driver gap. That's what I would attribute it to. Just their drivers being that much more skilled than everyone on the Grand Prix. It's not by much. Of course, it's not by much. We're talking really fine margins here, but their drivers being that much more skilled than everyone else on the grid, yeah, they're probably gonna lap fastest in intermediate conditions at some point. So I wouldn't put too much stock into that personally. But anyway, hopefully Mercedes show me something interesting in Baku, and there's no guarantees they will, but hopefully. And we'll take it from there with Mercedes. Alright, I want to talk about baby Schumacher's crash. Not because he's bad for crashing or anything. It's really inconsequential to me. I'm surprised he only crashed in the Grand Prix and not in a free practice or qualifying. Anyway, anyway, it's not really about baby Schumacher. He just had the crash, right? Now, what happened in this crash? The rear suspension. What do I call it? The rear suspension manifold? Is that what I'm gonna call it? Well, that all broke off the car, which is interesting. It's a old crash solution. But that's happening now as a response to the Grosjean crash. They've, Brown and his team of geniuses, they've come up with an engineering response to Grosjean's crash, where the car got split in half, and the fuel erupted because even the fuel bladder got split in half. So what is the solution? The solution is that the back of the car is going to be weaker than the middle of the car. Alright, so it will be the back of the car, that where the gearbox is, that breaks first. Where the gearbox is, the rear wheels, the whole rear suspension setup, all of that, the rear wing, that will be the thing that breaks off first, if there's enough energy to split the car. And I like it. I do wonder what the tolerances on these connecting joints was before this Grosjean crash. I do wonder that. I mean, there'll be some nerd somewhere who'll fish that out. But I do like this solution. I mean, sure, it will probably, look a little questionable as far as optics go for the back of cars to be breaking in half on some incidents. It will probably be some challenging optics for people. But just know with these cars, the more things break off the car, the less energy is going into the driver. Anyway, that's just the fundamental concept to understand about why the cars break apart the way they do when they crash. I'm sure everyone knows this already, but I just find the rear suspension manifold breaking off. I just find it an interesting solution, so I thought I would mention it here. Mick Schumacher, he's had the crash that's revealed this. I'm not really too concerned about him crashing at Monaco. Should have happened earlier in the weekend, quite frankly. It's a testament to him that it took the rain, really difficult track conditions, the really thin dry line, and damn patches offline. It took really difficult track conditions for him to crash, so that's a testament to him. But there's not a lot of other people that crashed. But anyway. That was the Grand Prix. I mean, Mick Schumacher's crash did bring out a red flag, and the race restarted again. After that, Ferrari made a decision to go on hard tires. Red Bull went on mediums. I mean, you can talk about that this way, that way. I don't think it would have changed the final outcome either way. I really don't. But yeah, that's the Grand Prix. It rained. They guaranteed rain, and it rained. The rain, perhaps, the way that the stewards were running the wet race, or not even running it, I should say, directing the wet race, it perhaps irked some people on the F1 Webosphere. I seen FF1 and Wolfpack Performance having a rage fest about it, but anyway, I appreciate it. I've had my own rage fest about it at the start of this video. But yeah, that was the Grand Prix. I wouldn't say it was an exciting Grand Prix. It was intriguing in spots, but it was more just a busy Grand Prix, really. A lot of things happened, but only very few of those things actually had an impact on the final result. The Ferrari debrief would be explosive, and I'd love to be there. I'd love to be at the Ferrari debrief and just hear Leclerc just rage at whoever called him in to pit when the pit box was full with Sainz's car. I'd love to see how that's resolved. I'm sure it's resolved quick enough because it's Leclerc, he's a pretty mature guy. But yeah, I'd love to be a fly on the wall at the Ferrari factory tonight. I really would. But yeah, this was the Monaco Grand Prix. Perhaps a frustrating Grand Prix. That would probably be a good descriptor of this Grand Prix. It was a pretty frustrating Grand Prix from a spectator point of view. Especially with the way the stewards just delayed the start. Pointless. Like, honestly, if you guys are not up to this Formula One thing, then just say so. Just say so. There's 1,000 men who will take that job in a heartbeat. But yeah, that was the Grand Prix. I don't really think anything else is worth noting. I do see Aston Martin finished in the points. Bottas, he made his way into the points as well. Off the back of Ocon's penalty. Gasly didn't get into the points, but this was still a very good drive from him. Unfortunately, not all good drives are rewarded with results. People are going to say, oh, what about Ricciardo? He might have driven. No, Ricciardo did not drive well at all. I'm sorry. This was a poor race, poor weekend from Ricciardo. The Canadians, well, there's maybe a funny observation about the Canadians, the quote-unquote expensive Canadians. They both crashed behind safety car. Both of them couldn't make it up. Each had an individual accident, couldn't make it up. Now, if I was making it up, I'd say they crashed into each other, right? They had their own crashes. Stroll drives into wall. Around what corner is that? Massenet. He drives into the wall. Just, let me go through this corner way faster than I should in these conditions. But boom, right rear puncture. He's very lucky that was the only damage. Latifi as well. He just drives straight at the hotel, at the Grand Hotel Hairpin. I'd love to know what you tell, Yost Capito happened. I'd love to know what Latifi told Yost in terms of, why did you just drive straight at the hairpin? What, you couldn't steer? That will be Latifi's excuse. He couldn't steer. That's what he said on radio. But the car was able to steer for the rest of the Grand Prix, was it not? Anyway, let me not get into these Canadians, man. Oh man, let me just not get it. Let me just let them percolate in the background for a bit before people think I've got some agenda with the Canadians. Mind you, I might have an agenda on the TV anyway. I definitely do not have an agenda with Stroll. I think he's quite a talented driver. He's fished himself some podiums here and there. Seems to be pretty good in the wets, going by Turkey and some other Grand Prix. Anyway. A busy Monaco Grand Prix, a frustrating Monaco Grand Prix, and at times a lethargic Grand Prix. Well, after the second red flag, it's probably apt to call it a lethargic Grand Prix. You'd hope for something to happen, but nothing really happens. Some standout moments: Guan Yu Zhou saving the car on a slide. Carlos Sainz, channeling his father's prowess over there with the power slide of justice. Going down the start-finish straight. Anyway, that was very impressive from Sainz. That was a very impressive save. Yeah, you can put that one in his highlight reel. Yeah, you can take that one anyway. Yeah, whenever you're done with F1, you know, maybe you win a championship, maybe you don't. But whenever you're done with F1, yeah, you can take the one anyway. You wanna drive WEC? Yeah, just show. I mean, hey, who might be racing in WEC by that time? Oh, we're talking like 10 years in the future. Anyway, you wanna go race IndyCar? You wanna go race WEC? You wanna go race the rally? You wanna do the rally thing like your old man? Maybe do the Dakar or something. You just show them that clip, Sainz. Does everything. Look at the car control. Whoa, he's sideways. Oh, it was really a brilliant piece of car control from Sainz. Really, I hope there's a picture of it. If there is, I'll put it up here. Anyway, that's the observations. That's the vid. Peace.
Hell breezy. Let me show you how to keep the dice rolling when you're doing that thing over there, homie. Hey, let's go! Cause I'm feeling like I'm running and I'm feeling like I gotta get away. Better know that I don't and I won't ever stop. Cause you know I gotta win every day. Go! See, you really wanna pop me. Go! Just know that you will never flop me. And I know that I gotta be a little cocky. Go! You ain't never gonna stop me. Every time I come a nigga gotta set it, then I gotta go and then I gotta get it, then I gotta blow and then I gotta shut it. Any little thing a nigga think that he be doing, cause it doesn't matter, cause I'm gonna dead it. Then I'm gonna murder everything and anything about it. Boom, about a bing. I gotta do a lot of things to make it clearer to a couple niggas that I always win and then I gotta get it again and again and again. And I be doing it to death and now I move a little foul. Nigga better call a ref and everybody know my style. Niggas know that I'm the best when it comes to doing this and I be banging on my chest and I'm banging in the east and I'm banging in the west and I can't give you more and I will never give you less. You will hear it in the street and you can read it in the press. Do you really wanna know what's next? Let's go. See the way we on it and we all up in the race and you know we gotta go now try to keep up with the pace and we struggling and hustling and set it and I get it and we always gotta do it, take it to another place. Gotta taste it and I gotta grab it and I gotta cut all through